How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and this is PSReady, my channel that's all about PlayStation. This video is sponsored by Kalshi. Kalshi is the first financial exchange to allow you to take your knowledge of video games and directly wager on their quality. It's basically like the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, but instead of investing on companies, you invest in things that you actually know about, like video games. So here's an example. Elden Ring's DLC, Shadows of the Erdtree, it's coming out very soon, and you probably got an idea of what the Metacritic score is going to be. Or, if you watch this channel, you probably have a decent idea of when the PS6 is coming out, or even Grand Theft Auto 6. Each of those is an individual market you can invest in with Kalshi. But going back to the Shadows of the Erdtree example, let's say you're positive it's going to get a 95 or above on Metacritic. Right now that's priced at 43%, so you can buy shares of Elden Ring getting a 95 or better for 43 cents. And just like with the stock market, the price changes based on the odds that this market determines. So let's say you wanted to buy 100 shares of Elden Ring getting a 95 or better on Metacritic at 43 cents. So you times that by 100 and it comes out to $43. And the cool thing is you can cash out early. So if you buy in at 43% and it goes up to 80% before Shadows of the Erdtree drops, you can cash out and you'll still make some money. Or if you just want to play it safe, you can just pick no, that it won't get a 95 or better. And then if it doesn't, you win there too. Kalshi's got a ton of video game markets, but there are also markets surrounding Rotten Tomato scores. I also saw that there are markets for the Oscars. So pretty much anything you're knowledgeable about in the entertainment field, there's something there for you. When you're ready to sign up, you can use my link in the description and the code PSReady, and the first 500 traders will get $20 extra on top of a deposit. Huge shout out once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. I just finished the Fallout show last night, and as far as video game adaptations go, I think that's as close to perfect as you could get. I know there's a lot of people out there saying they retconned everything that happened with the NCR in Fallout New Vegas, but if you know the timeline and read the timeline that's literally shown on screen, you'd know that that's not the case. And they're very clearly setting up the NCR for some sort of big comeback in season 2. And that's not a spoiler or anything. The NCR is referenced multiple times from the beginning of the show. So don't worry, you didn't get anything majorly spoiled. I'm not going to talk about it too much more, but I thought all three characters were great. I loved Lucy. I thought she was a great vault dweller. Of course, Walton Goggins, you can't beat him in anything. I know him from things like Vice Principals and the Righteous Gemstones, but he's great, of course, in Justified and a billion other things as well. Maximus was my least favorite character. He was my least favorite of the three, but I still loved him. I just wish they did more with the Brotherhood of Steel, but everything from the set design to the production value to the props, everything was just directly ripped from the game. I mean, the power arm of the T60 looked amazing. I hope we get to see some XO1 later on in the series, but yeah, that was as far as video game adaptations go, and just TV shows as a whole, which I don't even really watch anymore because I feel like they've gotten so bad. Just an absolutely phenomenal experience. I cannot wait to rewatch it. I talked about this in my last video, but Fallout 4 is on sale for $5 right now in the PlayStation Spring Sale. You should definitely grab it. It sucks that on PlayStation you get less mods than you do on Xbox or of course PC, but there's still some pretty good ones in the store that you can just download for free and try out. Anyway, I've got 3 great topics to talk about. This is a very PS5 Pro heavy episode, but first we're going to talk about this piece of PlayStation history that you can own for $70,000. Then we're going to talk about how Sony just confirmed all the leaks around the PS5 Pro in a really dumb way. And finally, we're going to talk about this new feature that's called Ultra Boost that you're going to be able to take advantage of on the PlayStation 5 Pro. All right, let's talk about this $70,000 piece of PlayStation history. So back when I was in high school, they did this thing every summer in conjunction with E3 where they would literally tour the country in this trailer truck, and you could try out things like the PS2, the PS3, the PSP, and I'm pretty sure they even kept it going as far as the PS4 and the PS Vita. I never got to do it because as far as I know, it never came to Detroit, but I thought it was really cool. And I was always wondering what happened to the truck that they would bring around the country to let people try out PlayStation games. And it turns out someone bought it and just let it rot, which really sucks. So this thing was used originally back in 2006, and it was actually just spotted on Facebook Marketplace as being up for sale for a price of, again, $70,000. It was sitting in storage, but when the person who's selling it took it out of storage, they said it had a lot of issues like dry rotted tires. It had been sitting for so long that I would guess personally that the gas is probably rotted in the tanks. And, there's a billion other things like cords and tubes that rot over time that probably need to be replaced. But still, it is pretty cool that for 70 grand, you could own this thing, fix it up yourself, and then you have a really cool sort of portable PlayStation themed gaming living room. I mean, you could upgrade this and throw in a Sony Bravia. You could get it upgraded with a PS5, And, you know, you could have like a portable sort of living room that you could take anywhere. Like you could get Starlink and get the RV version and put that satellite on top of this thing, and you could play anywhere in the country and, you know, upgrade it to have a place to sleep and eat as well. But at the end of the day, it would be pretty damn cool to own this. It's one of those trailers that like extends out when it's parked, so you get more room in it than the typical, like, I don't know, tractor trailer that you would see on the road pretty much every day. And the outside of it is decorated with PSP art. I can't tell what game is on the PSP that's on the side, even though it's really big. It either looks like something like MX versus ATV or MotorStorm Arctic Edge, but that game is in the snow, and the level that's in the game on the trailer is like in the desert. I don't remember if you actually have desert levels in Arctic Edge, but if you recently played that game, let me know in the comments. I would love MotorStorm to come back. I can't believe Sony let that series go away. Honestly, with like property taxes and all the stuff I've been doing around my house, I don't have 70 grand laying around, but man, this is actually a piece of PlayStation history that I personally would love to own. I don't have anywhere to put it. I would probably have it in worse shape very quickly than it is now, but I used to love seeing this thing on IGN when they would write it up on articles and stuff where it's going to be, and I wish I got to experience it. I'd love to hear if you're one of the people who got to like play the PSP in this thing in the middle of the summer down in the comments below, because yeah, I think this thing is really cool, and I hope whoever does buy it, it's a good home and it's a PlayStation fan, like someone who really wants to take care of this thing and restore it and make it something genuinely cool like it was all the way back in 2006. Next up, let's talk about this situation surrounding Sony totally confirming everything we've heard about the PS5 Pro, because everything is out there. We know the specs, we know the enhanced features it's going to have. The only thing really that we don't know is how much it's going to cost, when it's going to come out, and what it's going to look like. Like literally everything else about how this thing is going to exist is known because of a YouTuber named Moore's Law is Dead. He's been reporting on next-gen PlayStations and the PS5 Slim and like handhelds for a long time. There are like a couple of times where he's gotten something wrong, and I've noticed that either other YouTubers or journalists like to hold that against him as not being a reliable source. This dude is reliable. I've been talking about him on the channel for years now, and the vast majority, like I'd say a 90% track record of the things that he reports end up coming true. Now there's obviously a lot of speculation there, but the dude's just like clearly in the know about what Sony's doing with their hardware, and he made a whole breakdown video explaining everything about the PlayStation 5 Pro. But if you go over to his channel and look for that video, you'll see that it was taken down due to copyright infringement by Sony. So if Sony's the one taking this down due to copyright infringement, that's basically all you need to know about whether or not what he was saying is true, because if he has copyrighted material, that means it's legit. Now, obviously this thing could change between now and when it probably comes out in September, October, or November, but if they're already sending it out to developers, letting them order test kits, they've been sending out spec sheets and everything like that, these things have to either be going into production very soon or have been in production for a while. So as far as all of these leaks that we've heard about, which we're going to talk about in the next news story because there's even more updates there, I think it's probably 100% true, and everything we've heard about the PS5 Pro is legit, which is awesome because it's all been largely very positive. The only thing that really kind of gives me pause with the PS5 Pro is that 10% CPU upgrade. Now, there's a lot of stuff going back and forth depending on who you talk to over whether or not that's enough and whether or not the PS5 is CPU bound, but a lot of the people I trust out there have been saying that it's not actually very CPU bound and it's more GPU bound. And when you talk about it in that sense, the PS5 Pro is supposed to be 45% faster in the GPU side of things than the current PS5. So that would stand to reason that we're going to see some very noticeable performance improvements from games if you're playing on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Because at the end of the day, I'm buying this, but all I want is for it to feel like it was a worthy upgrade. Like the PS5 Slim was right on the edge. Did I need it? No. Did I make a video about it that made a little bit more money than I paid for it, and I got to talk about some hardware for once on the channel that I actually have in my hands and I'm not speculating on? Yes. So in that sense, it was worth it. And I love having a PS5 in my basement and in my living room. Is everyone going to do that? No. But for me personally, someone who has a channel all about PlayStation and plays most of my games on my PlayStation 5, that little convenience factor made that thing worth it. But if you're talking about a PS5 Pro, a console that's meaningfully upgraded from the PS5 that I have in my living room and my basement, that's when I get genuinely excited, because I had a great time playing games on the PS5 PS4 Pro. Stuff like Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us Part 2, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, all of those games looked and ran so much better on the PS4 Pro than the regular PS4 that if Sony just makes that same thing again, but much better for this generation, I'm all in on that because I want my games to look and run as good as possible because Sony games have the best graphics in the industry, like bar none. In my comments, I've noticed that like when you hear about the PlayStation 5 Pro, there is no middle ground. You're either like, hell yeah, I'm gonna buy this thing. I'm a hardcore PlayStation fan. I've had the PS5 since launch. I've absolutely loved my experience on it, even though a lot of the games were PS4 ports. And then there's the other side of the coin where people are like, why are they releasing more hardware? We just got the PS5. They don't need new hardware. But like, it doesn't matter because you're gonna be able to play your PS5 games on your current PS5. So whether you upgrade or not, nothing really changes for you outside of the fact that if you do upgrade, you'll be getting much better performance out of the PlayStation 5 Pro. But that brings us to the third news story on this list, which is more of an update to an existing news story that we've heard before about the PS5 Pro's enhanced mode. So when it was originally reported, we got a few details about what you would have to have your game do with the PS5 Pro to get the PS5 Pro enhanced badge on the box. And at the time it was written about, it really seemed like you needed to hit all of those metrics. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you have to. It looks like you just have to hit one of these metrics and then Sony will deem your game able to have this little badge that says it's PS5 Pro enhanced. The upside there though is that all of these updates that it would need to have are meaningful. So I'll go through them right now. The first one that'll get you the badge is having a new mode in the game for graphics. So you would have performance mode, you would have quality mode, or one or the other, just like a normal mode. And then on top of that, you'd be able to toggle on also a PS5 Pro mode. So that's just the easiest way. You have a new graphics mode that gives you better performance or better graphics, better resolution, or uses PlayStation Super Sampling. I don't know what the R stands for, or uses PSSR. We're just going to use the acronym for that. So if you use any of those features to provide a new graphics mode, you are going to get the badge. The next one is that at 30 FPS, so in quality mode, it has a higher resolution than the regular PS5. So some games right now in quality mode will be running at like 1800p. If they can get it up to like 2160p or, 1440p from 1080p, if that's what they're at on the PS5, that will get them the badge as well. I'm not super into resolution. I'm having a great time with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at 60 FPS, even though, it's running at a very low resolution that's kind of like soft when you look at the edges of characters and everything like that. That comes down to FSR, and I really hope that game gets a PSSR upgrade for the PS5 Pro as soon as that console comes out, because you really can't do much worse than FSR at this point. Like even Intel's upscaling is better, or the Unreal Engine 5 baked in upscaling is even better than what you get out of FSR. FSR is just not good. And then finally, you've got ray tracing support and the ability to run a game at 60 FPS that does not run at a locked 60 on the PlayStation 5. Out of all of those, I care the most about 60 FPS. I've been playing on PC for a long time, and now that I have the Steam Deck, I play most games on the Steam Deck at 30 and it's fine, but on my PC, I just lock everything at 60. I use VSync, I use frame limiters. I want the smoothest line on my monitoring software without any jitters, any stuttering, any frame drops. I am fine with a silky smooth 60 FPS. And while yes, there are a lot of games that hit 60 and hold 60 on the PlayStation 5, most of them are first party Sony titles or second party or third party like exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or something like God of War Ragnarok. There's a lot of third party games that are not exclusive that do not hit 60 FPS, like one of my favorite games from last year, Alan Wake 2. So in terms of meaningful upgrades for the PS5 Pro, obviously the big one for me is being able to run at a locked 60. I don't care about resolution all that much, but it would be nice to be able to take advantage of my 4K TV at its maximum resolution. I just care less about that than a locked frame rate. But this is where it gets really interesting, because to get that PS5 Pro mode badge, you have to like officially go back and patch a game, right? You have to say, hey, we're updating this game that's been out for a few years to be able to take advantage of the PS5 Pro. We'll get the badge on the box or on the digital storefront that Sony's going to offer. I don't think they'll reprint discs or anything like that to get that badge, but like games towards the end of the year will definitely be prioritizing these features for the PS5 Pro. But what if a developer doesn't want to patch their game and they say, well, we don't have that many players, we wouldn't get that big of a meaningful upgrade out of the PS5 Pro? That's where this new feature called Ultra Boost kicks in. So the PS5 and the PS4 Pro both have this feature actually for PS4 games, where games that didn't get a patch, you could run them in a performance mode, where the PS4 Pro or the PS5 will do its best to either upscale the game, get the frame rate more consistent, maybe even get it to run at 60 FPS. They do give you a warning when you toggle it on that says, hey, this isn't supported by the game officially, by the developers. We're going to do back-end work with the actual console, so you might see some errors, but I can tell you personally that every time I use this feature, I never ever ran into an issue caused by it. So that's pretty good to know going into this PS5 Pro's Ultra Boost mode, which is the same thing, just with a different name. And you can see this coming in handy for a lot of games, actually, like something like Destiny 2, which is, I've been playing that a little bit. I know everyone hates it, I'm sorry, but it's so much fun now that they have Into the Light. It runs at 60 on PS5, but if you're having a lot going on screens and some of the seasonal activities where there's a lot of enemies flying around, you're using all your powers. I have a build right now that's solar for the hunter that basically just makes it so I can spam the shit out of my super. You'll see it drop to 50 FPS. So I would love for this Ultra Boost mode to be able to just give me back that 10 FPS that I lose when I'm doing crazy shit in Destiny 2. So that's just another feather in Sony's cap as far as the PS5 Pro goes. I'm all in on this thing. I don't think there's really a downside, of course, outside of that 10% CPU boost. And, you know, maybe some games don't actually get a huge boost from Ultra Boost mode that you would expect, or Sony doesn't actually support it with, like, you know, PS5 Pro enhanced modes or enforced 60 FPS. There's like a lot of little caveats that ultimately to me don't really matter. The one thing I'm personally hoping for is that we get a DualSense Edge 2 at launch that has a better battery and comes in black. And also, because this is a Pro model, I really hope Sony takes a little like cue from Microsoft with the Elite model of the Xbox 360 they did back in the day, and also makes the console black. It's time to go back to black PlayStation consoles. I don't know why white is the default now, but it does not look good. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm really excited about this feature. I hope you are too. I'd love to hear from you about it down in the comments below. And again, remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. I am so close to 200,000 subs, and I would love if you help me get there. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.